Back to another Lawyer Reacts with me, Sasha Struthers. Today, another landlord-tenant one. This one is a dispute over a security deposit, which is what most tenants go to people's court for. So let's get right into it and see what exactly happened.
This is the plaintiff, Tony Trippy. He says his former landlord's playing games with him. He's skirting the law, and he's here to teach the scammer a lesson. That's right, the louse owes him money for a security deposit. He has a history of stealing former tenants' money, and he's here in the good name of the law suing him for the $5,000 he's owed.
It's a pretty hefty security deposit. $5,000 is a lot of money.
This is the defendant, Nick Biba. He says the plaintiff was a nightmare tenant whose 100-pound service dog bit a little girl. He almost burned the place down when the stove caught on fire, and he was even arrested once. He wishes the plaintiff good luck today in court with the judge, but knows he'll be the one walking out of here the victor. He's accused of causing a tenant tantrum. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $1,165.94 for additional damages.
Interesting. $5,000 is a pretty big security deposit, so I'm going to take it that there was actual damages to the unit. Having almost set an apartment on fire and being arrested are not unheard of things to happen in an apartment building, but I want to hear both sides of this.
All parties, please do right hand. Be seated, come to order, please. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Tony Trippy, you are suing Nick Biba,
Yes,
your former landlord, for the return of your $1,500 security deposit, as well as interest, as well as pain and suffering, because according to you, he inappropriately kept your money. And Mr. Biba, you're counterclaiming an additional $1,165 beyond the security deposit in money that you say you are out in damages. Let me hear from you first.
Okay, I'm not going to be exactly on dates because it's not me, but about 2.5 years ago, I moved into the apartment, and
Hold on. I'm not exact about dates because that's just not me. As if knowing the dates of things is a personality trait. What I think he probably means is he's just not good at keeping track of stuff. But like I always say, if you're going to go to court, even if it's small claims, it's good to have detailed notes, even if you have a general idea, it was happening this month, but it's good to have a timeline of what happened or what you're saying happened, because it makes you look more credible to the judge, and it goes towards, your preponderance of the evidence. So if you have better evidence, it's more organized, you're able to articulate it better, you have a higher chance of succeeding on whatever side you have, plaintiff or defendant. Whatever side you are on, plaintiff or defendant.
I didn't tell him I had a service dog, which I don't have.
You did or you didn't?
I didn't. He found out through the tenants, and he questioned me on it. And
why didn't you tell him you had a service dog?
It's not important that I do it, but
I know I'm pausing a lot. You should disclose that you have a service dog. Why you would not tell your landlord that you have a service dog? Service dogs are more or less protected in many places. So the landlord would likely have to let you move in or couldn't deny your application based on the service dog. But you hiding the fact that you have a service dog is quite frankly shady.
Tell him you had a service dog.
It's not important that I do it by law. I don't have to tell anybody.
No, you're allowed to have the dog, but where do you get that you don't have to tell anybody that you have a 100-pound Rottweiler?
As soon as you tell somebody and they see a dog like that, they can refuse you and give you different.
They can't refuse you. That's exactly the point of the law, is that they can't refuse you a true service dog. But go ahead. Anyway, so you move in, he finds out about the dog, he gets upset, but he can't do anything.
So he met the dog. He was fine with the dog. In the course of living there, I noticed that on the flooring, it was an inexpensive press board type, cardboard type, imitation hardwood floor. And it was starting to come up in little spots, And make a long story short, when I left, I knew that
Did you ever alert him to that,
Yes,
that it was
I did.
coming up? Do you have that in writing anywhere?
No, we just communicated always on the phone and texts and so on. He had sent me a list of things he wanted done.
Why were you leaving?
To move to Puerto Rico.
Okay. And when you were leaving, what kind of notice did you give him?
The proper legal notice through HUD with my counselor from the VA and so on.
Okay,
Written
so
notice.
was part of your rent being paid by HUD?
Yes.
So he tells you, I want this fixed, and you fix a bunch of things. All right, then you leave, and were you under the impression you were going to get your security deposit back?
Yeah, because he came out that Saturday and he walked through everything and he said, well, geez, today's Saturday. I didn't bring anything with me. So I said, well, I'll be here until Wednesday when I leave. So, and if I don't have the money, then we'll pursue this in court.
Why would you say that? He has 30 days to return your money.
Because I know the way I know the way certain landlords are.
Okay.
Okay, so it doesn't matter what way you feel certain landlords are. Typically, in a landlord-tenant situation, the laws give you a certain amount of time, you, the landlord, to itemize a security deposit and give it back. In California, it's 21 days. So you have 21 days from the tenant moves out to give back the security deposit or itemize any deductions from it and give that accounting to the tenant. So he doesn't have to do it. But this guy already is leading this path like he doesn't like his landlord, despite the fact he lied to the landlord by omitting the fact he had the service dog, and he's a Section 8 tenant. So already if the landlord's willing to lease to a Section 8 tenant, which, many people feel like landlords don't like Section 8 or, feel Section 8 is taboo. If he's already leasing to you the Section 8 tenant, he's already pretty open or accepting of your situation. To then lie about the service dog, that's ridiculous. You need to disclose that. Doesn't mean he can deny you because you have the service dog, but you need to disclose it. So I, as a landlord, would be pissed off if I found out you had this dog and now I got to backtrack and figure out what this dog is. Is it an ESA dog? Is it an emotional support dog? Is it just your pet? Could have been very upfront about it. I have a service animal. Here it is. Okay, cool. And he goes, yeah, the landlord was fine about it, which landlords are fine about it. Where landlords are not fine about animals, by and large, is when they're not trained or they cause damage to the unit. But as far as the security deposit goes, he does have time to itemize it. He doesn't have to give you the security deposit the exact same time you turn in the keys.
Okay.
So then 30 days pass, do you get a letter from him?
Prior to leaving, about 2 months prior to moving, I requested a special inspection from HUD. Okay.
Prior to moving?
Prior to moving, because I could foresee all this. I'm not a mind reader, but there's certain things you can just read the writing on the wall.
Were you supposed to leave on April 30th?
No.
There was an agreement that you would leave in the middle of a month?
Yeah, it was up legal. When you give more than 30 days notice, you and the landlord agree on to the date. He agreed.
He agreed for you to leave May 7th. That's my question to you.
Yes.
In the middle of the month?
Yes.
Did you agree for him to leave in the middle of a month? Right. Okay. So now you said you had a HUD inspection. Do you have the report that they issued?
Do.
Okay, great. And then do you have pictures of how you left the place?
Well, I have pictures of the damage. He inspected it that Saturday and was pleased with everything according to what he told me that day. But it was Saturday and he didn't bring his money with him. The banks are closed, blah, blah, blah. And as far as that,
Hold on. What am I looking at? All I see are gray, shades of gray.
The top picture you're looking at is the actual stove liner.
What happened? Was there a fire?
If you're going to present photos in court, don't present them in black and white. Present them in color.
Pretty much. It deteriorated. It's cheap. They're little dollar things you put in there.
Was there a fire, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, how did the fire happen?
Poor maintenance of the stove. Nothing was cleaned underneath there or anything.
Well, you're the guy who's supposed to maintain the stove and clean it. I don't know what you mean.
It's falling down. The stuff is rotting and falling down.
This is the burner, correct?
Right.
I have pictures of the stove, actually.
Yeah, let me see actual pictures will be better. And then what's this a picture of on the bottom?
That is the actual heater. And what you'll notice when you read the inspection is where it talks about the dampness and the moisture in the building, and that just showed rust on it just from sitting on the floor.
According to you, during the tenancy, one of the neighbor's kids was bitten by the Rottweiler?
Yes.
We'll get to the dog bite thing in a second. Landlords who provide appliances, their job or their responsibility is to maintain the appliance, in the sense that if the appliance goes out or needs repairs, it could be on the landlord because the landlord provided the appliance. However, you being the tenant, are the one actually using the appliance. So it's on you to make sure, one, you're using the appliance correctly, and two, that you're cleaning it. Cleaning underneath it, around it, on it. You have to clean it. The landlord's job is not to clean your unit. And this happens a lot with landlord-tenant situations where the tenants will not have a clean premises and they'll say, well, it's the landlord's fault, like my stove is dirty. No, it's your fault that the stove is dirty because you need to clean it. Now, if the stove doesn't work, like let's say, hey, none of the burners work, that would be on the landlord to either fix the stove or replace the stove. But there's a difference between having a habitable unit and having a clean unit. You are presented a habitable unit by a landlord, but you, the tenant, are responsible for keeping the unit clean. And if there's things wrong, like he said, there's dampness, it is your responsibility, or the floor was peeling, it's your responsibility to document that and to tell the landlord so the landlord can fix it. Just calling is not a good idea because there's no track record that you documented it. Text messages are commonly used, or emails. Sometimes property manager companies have an online portal so you can submit a maintenance request. But if you, tenant, are saying this was uninhabitable or had problems with it, you should have been documenting that during your tenancy.
Yes.
How do you know that?
The tenant called me to complain about it, to see what I can do with it. He said he needs to take care of his dog. And I called Mr. Trippy and asked him, said, you need to control your dog.
Okay, did that happen?
I don't believe so, and I was there, and I'll tell you why. Because she had no marks to show anything, for one.
Well, did you see your dog lunge?
What?
Did you, I don't know how to
Yeah, he
make
plays, he jumps, he's a dog.
Yeah, but you're supposed to have your dog under
He
control.
was on a leash.
Right.
She kept walking
On a
back and
leash?
forth right in front of us.
Okay.
Okay, she wasn't a little girl, she
Okay.
weighed 220 pounds.
First of all, take it down.
Ooh, he's getting very defensive. If you have an animal, service, ESA, pet, it is on you to make sure that that animal does not attack, lunge, jump at anybody. That's your responsibility as the owner of that animal. So when she's walking back and forth, she's walking back and forth. Either you and your dog leave away from the lady, unless the lady's in your apartment unit. But if she's bothering you and your dog, then walk away. But I'm pretty sure they're probably in a common area. And then to say that she's 200 and something pounds is also irrelevant. If your dog lunged at her, your dog should be lunging at nobody.
A notch. Okay, but
Well, I don't like the way you're talking to me right now. I'm
well,
sorry.
Oh, do not tell a judge that ever. Don't ever be like, I don't like your attitude, Your Honor. Judges can have attitude. They're judges. Do we always like the attitude? No. But she's telling him, you're getting amped up. And he goes, well, I don't like you. She's here trying to figure out facts, and she has to ascertain it. Okay, so she's doing it by asking questions, and he's getting defensive. But you don't go and pick a fight with a judge ever in court.
Sure
questions
is.
I'm asking
It sure
you.
is. No, the
Okay?
questions are fine.
But you
It's
still have to
presentation.
show respect for
Then
the
show me it, please.
judiciary. I'm showing you complete
Okay,
respect.
well, I'm
You
a
just
disabled
don't
vet
like
with
the
PTSD, and I
content
don't like the way you're
of my
approaching me with this.
questions. Your dog has to not only be on a leash, but be on a short enough leash for you to be able to pull your dog back. If it's truly a service dog, it should be listening to you. Does your dog have a muzzle right now?
No, it's a soft leader.
Okay. So what ended up happening? Did that neighbor call animal control?
Well, that's what I told him to do, call animal control
Did
right
the neighbor
away.
call animal control?
I'm not sure if he did or not.
Did animal control ever contact you?
Yes, ma'am.
They did, so they did call animal control. And what happened with that?
They came out and just took a report.
Did they fine you?
No,
Did you have to go to court?
no.
Okay. When do you get his letter telling you he's going to keep your security deposit?
I never got that letter. So,
Well, in your complaint, you say you got it after 30 days.
well, I never got it after 30 days because
No, I'm sorry. Let me read from your complaint. I received the letter after 30 days.
maybe I did. But
So he just lied. Also, if you're a tenant and you're moving out and you want your security deposit back, you need to give the landlord your forwarding address. In this case, he moved to Puerto Rico, which is still a U.S. protectorate. It's still part of the United States, so he should not have problems getting mail. But don't lie. He said, I never got it. Well, your own complaint that you wrote, sir, says that you got it after 30 days, but you got it. The more important thing is when it was postmarked, because things get lost in the mail, there's delays. So the landlord has to postmark it by the deadline. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to receive it by the deadline.
it was past
You don't
the
know
thir-
if you received a letter? That's
No,
not the
I
subject
don't.
of the
I keep trying to
lawsuit.
explain to you I'm a disabled vet and I have some issues, okay? With my PTSD and so on, and short-term memory loss.
Okay, so did you postmark the letter? Do you have
I
like,
got
did you send it
return
certified
receipts.
receipt? In
Certified.
fact, you sent it on what day according to the certified return
I
receipt?
believe it was on the 12th or somewhere
May.
around there. Yeah.
Yeah, and what day did he sign for it?
It says 6/29 on here,
So he just didn't pick it up?
I guess.
Okay, so now I want to see from you receipts for the replacement of things that you are saying needed replaced. I see the pictures that you say show the damage to the floors from the dog's nails and other places. This is the floor in another unit that's 10 years old.
Correct.
What kind of tenant was he during the time that he was there?
Well, it was a trouble from the beginning.
Because
when he first came to look at the apartment, he was supposed to be a homeless vet that was, disabled. So he drives up in this real fancy Mustang, all decked out, and I was like, that's a little strange. So I show him the apartment, and he says, I believe he had the dog with him, and I was like, I can't rent this apartment to you. My ad specifically stated that I don't rent
Okay,
it.
but you know that you have to allow them to rent if they have any
kind of
proof,
documents,
and you
right.
can now
I never
basically just
got
get that
any
on the
kind of
internet.
documents.
I mean, that's just the way it is right
I
now.
understand that. The first thing out of his mouth was, well, I'm going to sue you then. I'm going to sue you. If you don't rent it to me, I'm going to sue you. That's exactly.
Okay. This is something that bothers me, and I can't confirm or deny it, that this is the issue or that it was real. But people who take the system and then they abuse it, and then they become victims of it. He's a vet, he's disabled, he has PTSD. All things that vets experience and all common. And as an American, I appreciate every single vet and the service that they do for our country in the pursuit of keeping our country free. That I don't have a problem with. But there's a point in time where you can't take you being a vet and making yourself a victim and then using those things as an excuse to be abusive or to take advantage. If you have a service animal, be upfront about having the service animal. Hey, this is my service dog. And if the landlord doesn't know the laws about that, that's on the landlord. But to hide it, like he said, I didn't say anything because people look at me different and wouldn't let me rent. That's a different problem, but you never even told them and you didn't have the paperwork for it. It's very simple to have the paperwork and go, hey, this is my service animal. And you put the landlord on notice, this is my service animal. And if he doesn't rent to you because of the service animal, yeah, might be grounds to sue him. Also coming in, and you see this all the time with people who claim that they're really low income, that they're disabled, that they don't work, and yet they seem to have a lot of expensive items. I've seen that a lot in Section 8. Section 8's responsibility, HUD, if you know as HUD, they have a whole program and the tenant verifies their income through it. But there has been instances where tenants lie because they don't want to lose their Section 8 voucher because they don't want to lose that subsidy and have to start paying their own rent, or they don't want to have their subsidy reassessed against them and then an adjustment be made where they have to pay more rent as a consequence of having more income. So the landlord being observant about it is, I don't blame him for being observant. Whether he can use any of that information as an excuse to not rent to him would be a different problem. But just in general, it does happen. I'm not saying it's a widespread issue, but it does happen where people abuse the system. And it's just really heartbreaking. But just because you have a disability, you're a vet, you have the service animal, doesn't give you an excuse to have a bad attitude, to lie, to hide things, to abuse neighbors, get in fights with neighbors, to damage the unit. You still have to be responsible like everybody else does.
The first thing he said out of his mouth, and I was like,
Yeah, and he has that right, actually.
and I was like, okay, that's fine. I said, I explained to him that he needs to be, that if the dog does any damage, he's going to be responsible for it.
Okay, I'm looking at the floors, and the floors are damaged. I'm looking at them, and to say, well, they were cheap is not really an answer. The floors are damaged with little pock marks, which look to be of nails of a dog. I have dogs.
I think the inspection speaks for itself.
No, it doesn't. The pictures speak for themselves. Now, I'll look at the inspection, but when I'm looking at the floor, the inspector has no way of knowing whether that was there before or wasn't there before. Where's the
You can see
inspection
the seams
report?
where they meet. That's where it's coming up.
Okay, I need the one with nothing crossed out.
HUD wouldn't do that.
Who is this from? I don't know who this is from. This could be from your
You can
friend.
call them. I'll give you the number. It's HUD.
No, what I want is an actual HUD report as opposed to what this is. This is something from someone named Cheryl.
She no longer worked for HUD. So they had to contact her. So they had to go through HR or whatever. They don't just give phone numbers out.
Yeah, but you could have your best friend write this. This isn't an inspection report from HUD.
A simple phone call.
HUD gives inspection reports. I've seen many of them in my life. They vary depending, HUD is a federal program, but it's administered locally. So like, for instance, in Los Angeles, there's HACLA, which is the city. There's LACDA, which is the county. And then different cities have their own HUD programs, their PHAs. So there is a report. You wouldn't have an email like that. The landlord would get an actual letter that says, here's the things you need to fix by this deadline. That's what she's asking for, and he should have that.
The HUD would clarify all this.
There's no such thing as a simple phone call to HUD. You know that. I know that. He knows that. That's not my job.
Well, you
That's
can't
not
check
how
on
it
something
works.
like that. That's against the law for you to go out and spend 5 minutes to check on something.
Are you kidding me?
Wow.
Me go check on something you're supposed to bring to court
especially
to
if you're
prove
going by
up?
law, you want to do the right thing at the end of the day.
Yeah, I do want to do the right thing. So here's what I'm going to do. Do you have evidence of replacing the floor?
I actually brought flooring with me to prove to you. This is the flooring
Wait,
that came
hold
out.
on. This is from the apartment?
This is from the apartment.
Let me see that. Okay, let's see it and let.
And I have pictures of the apartment after it was done.
Okay. Yep. And when you say it was done, are you the one who did it? Is that why
Well,
you don't?
I had the tile work done by somebody else, and
Do you have a receipt for that? I'm
no, I
asking.
don't. The guy was supposed to email me one, he never did.
Notice the seams.
And there's a picture also of the new
No,
stove.
there's nothing wrong with these seams. What I see are
on
the holes in
photos.
it from the
If you look
dog.
at the seams in the photos, you'll see
Yeah, I
what
did,
I'm talking
but
about.
right now I'm
moisture.
not looking at that. I'm looking at
kinda
this, where
wanna
what
go
I
over
notice are the cuts on the floor from nails. You know? Tell me what you have by way of receipts.
Flooring I had in my warehouse.
Here's what I don't want: words. I want receipts for things. So hand me receipts for things.
I don't have it. Well, the guy was supposed to email me the receipt
but
for
what
the
about
tile.
the-
I don't have.
You have to have receipts. So the landlord has a better chance in this case, but you need to have receipts. If you've paid him, show the check. Hey, this is the check I paid to the tile guy. If you're going to pay the tile guy in cash, then have him sign a receipt that he received the cash. That's just good bookkeeping. But when you go to court, you have to have this together. For the plaintiff, who's the tenant, you need to have the HUD inspection report. Here's your moment to shine. No one, judges do not go to court and call people. That's not the judge's job. You need to have all of this documented before the judge. You don't go, hey judge, go call my Section 8 advisor, who by the way no longer works there. You're not doing that. For the landlord, you have to have receipts showing how much all of these repairs cost.
I don't have that. No, I have the itemized report there, actually.
Your report is the same as your words in my courtroom. That is not evidence. So court is in recess, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to try to get those receipts that you're talking about.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Harvey Levin here. Can a dog's nails, well, I'll ask you, your dog, you have a dog, could your dog's nails put holes in a hardwood floor? What do you think?
No,
Why? I mean, they're sharp.
because they're not really that sharp, but
They're pretty sharp. They're actually pretty sharp. This dog is going to kill me.
What was the question?
Oh, the question was, could this dog's nails, touch the nails, touch them real quick, could they put holes in a hardwood floor?
No way.
They're not comparable dogs. It's a small dog, and the other dog was a pit bull. They're not comparable. A pit bull can, if they're scratching at the floor, for sure do that. Especially if the floor is, like he said, like laminate, or it wasn't, I think it was laminate, where it's thinner wood. It for sure could be done.
Really?
No way it could.
Okay. I'm a minority of one here, going inside the courtroom.
Okay. So I took a recess to see if you would be able to get any receipts or third-party proof of the damages. Were you able to get any?
I couldn't get a hold of the guy.
And we
on the
also invited you to go ahead and call HUD with a staff member of mine and actually verified that this is a woman who worked for HUD and who wanted to add that to the file. HUD didn't add it to the file, but it's an email from somebody who used to work for HUD to somebody who does work for HUD telling them to add it to the file. And they didn't, and probably because she was proclaiming what the damage to the floor was from, and it was kind of not HUD's business to do, but certainly that's what she was saying. It is cheap laminate floor that's on there. I'm looking at the pictures, and I do see, in the seams certain problems, but I also see divots that are the classic evidence of damage from nails of a dog. Now, it would be oh so peachy keen if you actually came to court with proof of the things that you want to declare is owed to you, because you are not only trying to keep his $1,500, you are also suing for an additional $1,100. So you're going to get stuck with whatever I deem appropriate. Okay. So what have we got? I'm going to allow $350 for the stove, which clearly was a result of fire. Regarding the laminate floor, That's not quite as clear to me. And you're asking for a whole lot of money for that with a whole very little a part of proof. You don't have a receipt. You don't have an estimate. I'm going to allow you to keep the original $1,500 on the plaintiff's lawsuit against you. I find in your favor. As far as your counterclaim against him, I find that because you don't have the additional proof that I would require for that kind of an amount, I find in his favor on that. That's my verdict. Good luck, folks.
Hold on, please.
Well, here comes the plaintiff, Mr. Trippi. Sorry, obviously you can't be too happy about the outcome.
I don't know what people expect in these things, but I definitely think that that's kind of fair how she ruled. If you damage the stove, you as the tenant damaged it, you should pay for it. The flooring, because he doesn't have anything, the security deposit's basically the ceiling. So without proof of anything else, you're not going to get anything else. You have to have documentation. Looks like the guy's probably living his best life, this tenant, somewhere else. But yeah, it is very hard to vet these things. There's always red flags. However, red flags aren't always grounds for you to deny someone renting an apartment. So it is very tricky. And I hope that going forward, his dog doesn't lunge at anybody and that maybe he calms down, though I doubt that. As for the landlord, yeah, you have to have move-in photos, move-out photos, and cost proof of damages. He did have photos of another comparable unit. I suppose maybe their flooring got done at the same time. I have no idea. But also cheap material doesn't withstand a lot. However, here the tenant probably was clawing at the floor. Why? I have no idea. I was not there. But that's how these things go. In the future, come prepared, come with colored photos, estimates, and reports. Always very important. That being said, thank you for checking out this video. You can also check out my other reaction videos. And if you want, I have a weekly newsletter that's about real estate news and related information. It's free. Feel free to sign up for that. The link will be below. See you in the next one.